The cause of incidents like this, according to experts, are factors that could have been dealt with earlier. It has motivated the Building Collapse Prevention Guild, a body of the built environment professionals who are concerned about the problem. Discussions and investigation reveal some of the causes of the incessant collapse of buildings.
Some of the findings was that, one, the Ministry of Physical Planning was not structured to tackle the problem. So we now recommended that the ministry should be divided into 3 segments. One will be for planning permit authority. The other one will be urban renewal or urban regeneration agency. Then the third one will be building control agency. So the essence of this was to introduce a system that has checks and balances.
The implementation of this plan has posed another set of hiccups, as noticed in the case of Lagos State.
Before LAPCA, 200 persons were recruited into the Ministry of Physical Planning to handle that aspect of monitoring. The majority of them had no experience or had no background in construction. And there were people who are just looking for a way of engaging themselves in some services that could yield some source of income. So eventually they were exposed to gratification, not having the primary aim of protecting the construction industry image.
Another cause which has also accounted for collapse of buildings in Nigeria is the use of substandard materials. For this, the Materials Testing Laboratory has a responsibility to check and ensure that the right mix of concrete, quality of steel, among other things, are used.
To stem this tide, Material Testing Laboratory has been empowered by the state government to ensure that we go around the entire state and ensure that we test all buildings under construction and all buildings that have been constructed and are standing. And we need to be sure that these buildings will stand the test of time. And that's what we've done. You will not see us in the office again. You see most of us on all the sites. We're at Lekki Gardens carrying out several tests to ensure that those buildings are still okay. We are even going, not only in Lekki Gardens, we have visited the entire state. Before now, I think we've been concentrating on the superstructure. But now what we do now is that, foundation is the key. What we do now is that when you get your approval to start construction, you now forward your structural drawings and the soil report to Material Testing Laboratory for us to assess. And after assessment, you give us at least 48 hours notice before you start the construction. So that when you now want to start construction, you call us, we are there. We have about 4 branch offices. We have at Lekki, we have at Alimosho, we have at Surulere, and we have at Atikorodu. So when you invite us, we are there.
These materials are subject to laboratory tests. In the concrete unit, for instance, concrete cubes from construction site are tested for strength using a compressor machine,
where it comprises of the monotronic and the printer. So as you can see them, by the time they feed the cubes into the machine, the officer in charge has to start the machine. So by the time it's subjected to load, from what we have seen here, it will fail under load after it has been subjected to that load. So after it has failed, the monotronic automatically store the load in kilonewton and the compressive strength. The essence of testing this cube is for us to determine the strength of the structural members on site. It's just a representative of what is being done on site. For example, now if you are building a house, you have the columns, the beams, and the slabs. Those are the structural members. So on site, by the time they are mixing and pouring the concrete to make those structural members, so it is expected of the laboratory to be on that side to take part of the concrete mix on the side, and that is what you've seen here.
There is the geotechnical unit where materials like sand, cement, granite and other aggregates are tested for salty content and other components.
For road construction, you have to determine the type of bitumen that you want to use on before finally lay it on the road before you finally use it, and mix it with sand and some other aggregate before it becomes your asphalt, before you finally lay it on the road surfaces. So these tests are very, very important, like penetration tests, like softening point tests on bitumen.
Water samples from building sites are also subject to tests.
We want to determine whether the water contains iron, whether it contains calcium, magnesium, and some other chemical parameters. Because the essence of it is that, when you mix water with cement and sand and granite, there's tendencies for corrosivity, maybe to corrode the iron use, during construction. So we want to be sure that the water use are free of all these chemical parameters. So that is why we mandated that they should bring the water from the site for further laboratory analysis.
There are other tests which have been infused into the system to ensure that buildings in Nigeria do not become death trap, and all citizens are required to follow the procedure.
Before you construct your building, you must have gotten your approval. You must present all your papers to the Ministry of Physical Planning. And even we have an agency there, LASFIDA, which also deals with approvals. You must get your approval. Before you get your approval, they will assess the drawing that you want to do. They assess drawing and they check what exactly you want to build on that soil. And when they do that, they now forward it to us for further action.